when I got back to Kincora yesterday, and didn't have a whole lot of time to chat with him because I was just getting in from trail maintenance, and and then a young woman with a dog came in that needed a shuttle back to a car, and by the time that was all over, it was about 8:30 at night, and that's my bedtime.
And 30 minutes later is my bedtime. Come on up here, Simba. Come on.
That's Simba.
She'll be up here in a minute.
3 cats and 3 raccoons.
Hey, how you doing this morning? Your colleague slept with me last night.
Boots,
part of the night. Boots.
Boots sleeps in the cabin with me during the winter with the other 2 cats, but once the first hiker comes, I don't see Boots. She stays with the hikers in the hostel the rest of the season. She just far prefers hikers over me. I think she gets a lot more TLC from the hikers than she gets from me. Boots a good cat. Well, they all are. They're all feral cats, and you'd never know it today to see them, but they were feral. But anyway, to answer your question about the flags.
I'm listening.
Around this part of the country, you have 2 choices. You can be Scotch-Irish or Scotch-Irish. Those are the 2 choices. And I'm Scotch-Irish.
Mm-hmm.
And my father was from the town of Peoples, which is about 20 miles south of Edinburgh. And my mother was from Galway Bay, Galway.
And yesterday you mentioned that you're going to travel to that region possibly this year.
I'm going back to Scotland this year if the UK lets us in. My son
I know
and I are going back.
I tried to go to England in 1974, and it was so much civil unrest that the both state departments of both countries, cautioned against travel.
And, and I spent a lot of time in the UK in the military, TDY, and to this day, I was there during the 80s and stuff, early 80s.
Yes, sir.
And to this day, I can't give blood because of hoof and mouth disease.
Yeah.
It was prevalent in the UK at that time.
Yes, sir. But they know what they're doing. Just like Bob Peoples knows trail maintenance. So that's a great
thing. I'll go back to the story of the flags.
Okay, I forgot that.
So what it is, right now, you're in the Whitehead clan.
Mm-hmm.
All the way over the Round Mountain. By the time you go down with the Alder group tomorrow on the Trail Magic, you'll be at Watauga Lake. That's Campbell clan.
Campbell, yes, sir.
So all the way through this area, you've got Scotch-Irish clans. And the story is at the Battle of Culloden in 1745, there was a gal, 15-year-old, her name was Flora MacDonald.
Mm-hmm.
And she rowed the boat that saved Bonnie Prince Charlie.
Mm.
So George II, English king, immediately put a price on her head. And she and the clans that escaped Culloden came to North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
So by 1800, they're here. And when you get a chance to hike in Scotland, you'll know why they came here. It's identical. You'll probably not know a half a dozen trees and a dozen flowers. That's it.
Wonderful. That's good.
It's amazing. And I've walked the battlefield of Culloden up above Inverness in Scotland. And there's a diorama, and it tells that same story that I just told, with one exception. It says, it tells all about her saving Bonnie Prince Charlie and so forth, the head of the Scottish Army. But then it says she goes overseas to many adventures and comes back to be buried on the island of Skye. They never mention North Carolina because that's not their story. So if you go to the gathering, the Highland Games.
Yes, sir.
It's on Grandfather Mountain, which you can see from from the humps when you're going across the trail in the rounds. I'd say McQueen's Meadow. That's the largest gathering in the country.
I see.
In
And does it happen about the same time every year?
mid-July.
Sometime in mid-July.
July. And it's up at McCrae Meadow, right by the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Yes, sir.
And if you go on Sunday, it's the gathering of the clans, not the clan, just the colors of the clan. Okay, it fills the entire football field.
All right.
It's beautiful. It's just really neat, and the thing that's really neat about it is I used to go to it down in Keachie in Vermont. They had a gathering and stuff, but here they've got 4 and 5 year olds dancing the Highland Fling, and the tradition goes on.
There we go.
Yeah, so it's really pretty neat, and they have a way sometimes the way they start it, and it's really different. It's 4 days. It starts on Thursday through Sunday, and there's a single piper playing a dirge.
Yes, sir.
And as he plays the dirge on the bagpipes, the lighted torches come down Grandfather Mountain. And the first one to the bonfire pile of wood tosses his torch on the wood. It's McDonald. I mean, he'll say the story of the McDonald clan and so forth. And then it's Forbes, Lindsay, Hay, and so forth. The clans that fought and died at Culloden. It's really impressive.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. But that's the thing I really like about Alda, because you learn about these trails and you say, hey, maybe I'd like to do that too. And no place else is that available. But that's one of the things about Alda. And a lot of people don't look at Alda the same way I do. Alda is not like ATC. Alda is about hiking. It's not about how much money we can make or anything else. It's about hiking. And if you go to Alda, the thing I've been going basically for over 20 years, 25 years. It's the workshops, because you go to a workshop on trails any place in the world,
Yeah.
and then you say, well, maybe I'd like to do that one too. And I'll give you an example, and it's 4 people that have been in Alda a long time. And this was years ago. There was Billy Goat and Maui and Chuck Norris and Tigger. And they had hiked the Israel Scenic Trail. And you always go to Maui's workshop. If Maui's got a workshop, because she makes food of the country she hikes in. And she's a good cook. It's really good. Well, went to the workshop just because they're friends and I wanted to see the workshop. Well, she said, Maui, when she was doing her portion of the presentation, she said, and we crossed the Jesus Trail. And I said to her after the presentation, said, Maui, what's the Jesus Trail? And she said, don't really know, Bob. She said, it opened up in '09, and we didn't hike it. We just crossed it as we were going from the Dead Sea to Lebanon border, going from south to north. And the Jesus Trail goes from Nazareth to the Sea of Galilee, from west to east. And hiking Israel is like hiking Delaware. It's the same kind of setup land-wise. And so I came back and looked up on the internet, and Amazon had a book on the Jesus Trail, so I bought it and went and did the trail. And then after I discussed it with Kip Redick, who's again was a head of Alder at one point.
Right.
And when I did Camino Santiago, I knew Kip, and he teaches theology at Christopher Newport University.
There in Virginia.
Yeah, in Virginia.
Tidewater, Virginia.
Yeah, and he hikes with his theology class.
Mm-hmm.
And they always go to trail days, and they come over here and for using the bathrooms and the water and stuff. And they're great because they play with the hikers that are here at the time. And well, anyway, did Camino Santiago before it was really known, before the movie The Way was out. And Kip asked me about it, and then he takes his theology class to hike there. So that when I did the Jesus Trail, Kip said, would that be safe for my class to go? I said, yeah, I think so. And they said, hike it yourself first and see what you think.
Right.
So he did that, but to my knowledge, he hasn't done his class yet. And I told him something that totally blew me away when I was in Old Jerusalem, before I took the bus over to Nazareth to start the trail. There's an archaeological dig going on at King David's tomb in Old Jerusalem. It's run by the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. So I took a picture of the billboard at the site that said that in the email address and so forth. And I gave it to Kip and said, get a hold of this guy and see if your class can dig at the King David's tomb. What a thing for a theology class. But that's the thing I really like about because you learn about these trails and you say, hey, maybe I'd like to do that too. Mm-hmm. And no place else is that available.
And, all is all about the hiking, the hiker's experience, and a trail associated with the Appalachian Range.
Right.
Which, of course, is the Appalachian Trail, but also many Blue Blaze trails.
Well, and then that's a good point. But the Appalachia Trail is Appalachia West. Mm-hmm. There's an Appalachia East.
Yes.
In the Appalachia East, there's Greenland, Iceland, the Caledonian Mountains, Spain, corner of Portugal, over Gibraltar to the Atlas Mountains in Morocco.
Yes.
When you're hiking in Spain, it's a good precept to hiking in Pennsylvania. That's where the continental drift, they're actually together.
Apparently the world was together, more together than it is in this year, 2022.
Right now you're hiking in the marshes of Morocco, of Africa. And by the time
that explains why it rains so much in North Georgia in the springtime.
Oh, that's probably true. But that's why, as I say, Spain is Pennsylvania. Those two were joined before the continental drift. Dick Anderson does a great presentation on that, the head of IAT. Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's one of the things about the trail that's endearing is I'm enjoying it right now.
Yeah, and it's the people.
The people that have enjoyed it in the past, and see, my descendants will enjoy it, and because of the work that you do, it's going to look similar, if not exactly the way it looks today.
That's true, and of course, what we do as much as possible is use rock.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And then you're right. Our grandchildren will have the same trail to hike on.
They will.
So it's really pretty neat.
Well, and even beyond our grandchildren, I have 5 grandchildren. How many children do you have, Bob?
I have 2 grandchildren.
2 grandchildren.
It's well, and it's just it's really neat. And as I say, the thing about hiking, unlike other sports, it has no age to it.
Right.
And it's a subculture. Mm-hmm. It's people that basically have the same values and the same way of looking at life. And consequently, they have the trails in common, so they all interface with each other. Mm-hmm. And, well, when I was hiking Camino Santiago in 2009, I was hiking across the city of Lyon, and this hiker yelled to me. And I turned, and it was a Brit, and his name was Pickles. And he had stayed with me in 2007 here at Kincora. So they do. So wherever you go in the world, you're probably going to meet people you met on another trail.
You're right.
So it's really pretty neat.
Now, it's such a pleasant morning here, but the morning is starting to get away from us. Now, in a nutshell, I know you've got an exciting group tomorrow. I think it is tomorrow.
I have 120.
But you're busy every day. Go ahead with the numbers tomorrow. Is 120, you say?
120 Mormons, and they'll be working with us at Bays Mountain over in Kingsport, and that's a city park. It's from the 1920s time period, and they have a lake and a dam and stuff, and that used to be the water source for Kingsport. And the old big pipes are still there to feed the city and stuff. And well, anyway, a lot of trails in there, and we're trying to open those up to the public. But they have coyotes, they have wolves, they have a bobcat.
You mentioned that.
Yeah, so they have a whole lot of things for the family to see. And of course, opening up these trails allows the families and people to see other things and go other places.
Yeah,
and not do it all on one or two concentration areas.
So I wanted to mention that trail maintenance is a lifestyle for me, but for some folks, it's life itself. So that's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
120 people.
120 people.
Yesterday, I arrived and waited for you and toured some of your property. And in a nutshell, what were you doing yesterday?
Yesterday, I was up at Cross Mountain Road by the handicap accessible trail, the portion of the AT, and basically we were cutting blowdowns and clearing water bars and stuff before all the rain in spring.
Right. I'm also a sawyer, so I should have came up here 2 days ago.
We would have put them to work.
Yeah. I've got 4 saws in the truck. Of course, 2 of them are pack saws. Small chainsaw. I got 5 saws. A big chainsaw, a steel 461, and the 5th saw is my crosscut saw.
And you don't want to use that unless you absolutely have to. That's a lot of work, that crosscut. Yeah, that's all you can use in the wilderness.
Right. Motors are unauthorized in wilderness, so you need a crosscut saw, which, if it's tuned up properly by somebody like Dan DeWicki, then it's a pleasure to use. It actually sings to you. But if it gets dull, its nickname is the Misery Whip.
I hadn't heard that before, but it's the truth.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
It is.
Now,
I have stewardship for a wilderness area, so yes.
I do as well.
Yeah, because the gorge is mine.
And then in Central Virginia, I have from Thunder Overlook toward Pettit's Gap.
Okay.
So I have like half a mile of chainsaw eligible, but after that, it's all wilderness.
I have about 100 feet of chainsaw in 3 miles of wilderness.
Yes. my section's famous for trilliums coming up pretty soon. So I've already been through there. My local club is Natural Bridge Appalachian Trail Club, and the trail boss there, one of the first things after the road access opened up after the winter, the very first work day was through my section.
Oh, neat!
And I managed to get up there the day before, and it was in pretty good shape. They helped me, and there'll be a link over to help me with some leaners across the trail.
Okay, hazard trees.
And I put that in my work report, so that when they went with me the following Tuesday, there's video of the Natural Bridge Club taking care of a leaner, and it was very, very elegant solution.
No, it's just going to fall over. We will hold that.
All right, so today, Bob, where you headed?
We don't do anything eloquent.
Well, it was. I was trying to figure out a pleasant way of saying with a minimum of effort. So it was leaning, and I wrote up in the report that it was a hazard tree because all the hikers were walking under it, and sooner or later, if it happened to fall at the wrong time, it's going to hurt somebody. So all they did was they sawed it high, and it was in wilderness. They sawed it high, and the new base fell off the trail.
Oh wow!
And it was I looked at it, I said, and then I turned to my colleague and said, I reckon that's all we have to do. He said, we're going on to the next one.
Trail maintenance is task-oriented.
Yes.
And it fills the task-oriented personality because they can complete the task. And it doesn't really matter how you do it as long as it's safe.
Safety is the primary concern.
But to give you an example, we had a large blowdown on a rock cliff. So it was shallow rooted and it skidded down and the trail was on the lower portion of the cliff. Well, you couldn't cut the tree because if you cut the tree, the root ball would slide down the rest of the cliff and wipe out the trail, and there was no place to put the trail without going around the cliff. So, okay, we're all used to cutting trees, but not like this. So Paul Benfield, who's the person that he's in his mid-80s, and he's the person who sharpens all our crosscut saws and
Yes,
stuff.
sir.
He said, well, what we need to do is build a crib. So they built a crib. We built a crib wall under the tree
To hold it.
to hold it before we ever cut it.
Uh-huh.
Then we cut it, and he cut the AT symbol in the base in the tree. So it's okay. Here's the problem. Now, how do you solve it? And then to say, and then you put it together. You didn't get a chance to meet him yesterday, but Dick, that was with me yesterday, just moved down here from
Vermont, right.
and lives down the road. And he's gotten very involved in the last couple of months with the different trails that we work on. He's a retired environmental engineer and used to control the water source for northern Montana and Iowa.
Iowa,
Not
yes, sir.
Iowa, Idaho.
Idaho.
Montana and Idaho. And so he's very involved, and all of a sudden now he's trail maintenance. So great.
He is, and he's younger than we are,
yeah,
too.
he's a kid. He's only 65.
That's right.
His name is Rookie.
That's very appropriate. So today, where you headed to?
Asheville.
Asheville.
I have, again, like we were talking about a minute ago, is hiker community, and I have a friend, a single mom, and she has a real fixer-upper in Asheville. So I'm on my way to work on her house today.
Good.
She through hiked in 04 and hiked the Camino Santiago with me.
Well, continued blessings to you, Bob. I tell you,
Keeps you going.
it really does.
You don't have any time to sit on the couch and whine.
I know it.
Yeah, I gotta do it.
It's coming up on time to
You say until we meet again.
yeah. Well said.